You're listening to Greg and his friends talk sports. A 10 to, how long now?
20, 30, 45
Whatever
minutes.
it takes. And here's your host, Greg Mingill.
Thank you so much, producer Susie. Best producer and wife in the history of history. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Central Indiana sports fans, and welcome to Greg and his friends talk sports. Coming up on a busy podcast. The Pacers lost again. USA Hockey wins gold. Boys basketball sectional draw results were Sunday evening, and Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader will join me to discuss that, particularly the 2A sectionals. Plus, Oak Hill wins the girls basketball semi-state championship and will play for a state championship, and Oak Hill grad Grant Shouse of the Action Sports Network joins me to talk about that. We also have results from wrestling state finals, boys swimming sectionals, and tons of college basketball from the Big 10, Big 12, ACC, Big East, MAC, Crossroads, and Heartland, men and women. Before we get to all of that, we have a Pacers report coming up late Monday, an IU report, and a Blackford Bruins report on Tuesday, a Purdue report, and Elwood Panthers report on Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. My friends and I will be back tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. The Pacers lost 134-130 at home to the Dallas Mavericks on Sunday to fall to an Eastern Conference worst 15-43. Pascal Siakim was great again, returning from a 3-game hiatus for 30 points and 8 rebounds. Jarace Walker added 18 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals, and his emergence is truly starting to become a story. And we'll talk about that on Monday's Pacers report with Mike Rich. We'll also talk about the Pacers' third straight loss, 7 in their last 9 games, but they're still just a win away from jumping from the second worst record in the league to the 4th. So really, you got to just stay in the bottom 3. And we'll talk about the next 3 games, all at home, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Sixers, Hornets, and Grizzlies. Side note, Alex Golden of Setting the Pace reports that Tyrese Halliburton has shingles. Yikes. He'll be away from the team for a while. Pacers affiliate, the Noblesville Boom, went 1-1 over the weekend against the Capital City Go-Go at the arena at Innovation Mile. A 128-125 win on Saturday and a 130-114 loss on Sunday afternoon. The Boom have 5 days off before their next game in Edinburgh, Texas against the Rio Grande Vipers. The USA won its first Olympic hockey gold medal since the Miracle on Ice on Jack Hughes' overtime goal to beat Canada 2-1. I will talk with Will Rutherford on Monday's show about truly one of the greatest moments in USA hockey history. Also, Michelle Garmon will be back on Monday to talk about IU women's basketball, but she will be coming up forthwith to talk about Sunday's IHSA boys basketball draw. Love using that word. Particularly the 3 sectionals in Class 2A at Elwood, Eastbrook, and Manchester, the sectionals that we're most interested in. But we'll start with Class A, and at Clinton Central, the 7-team sectional, Rossville drew the bye at Clinton Central and will face either Carroll or Traders Point in the semifinals. On the bottom half, defending champion Clinton Prairie faces Bethesda Christian on Wednesday before Frontier and the host Bulldogs. At Wes-Del in an 8-team sectional, on Tuesday in the quarterfinals, Southern Wells against North Miami and Tri-Central against Northfield. On Wednesday, it's Daleville against Wes-Del and Cowan against Southwood. It's also an 8-team sectional at Indiana Def. Anderson Prep will play the second game on the first day against International, and then with a win will face either the host Orioles or Purdue Broad Ripple in Friday's semifinals. Favored Liberty Christian plays Wednesday against MTI Knowledge on the same side as Tindley and Indiana Math and Science. Doing this a little bit out of order, I want to do Class 2A last to intro into Michelle. So Class 4A, the 4-team sectional, Lafayette Jeff. Kokomo faces the host Broncos in the second semifinal next Friday, following McCutcheon and Harrison. Kokomo beat Jeff in overtime at Kokomo on January 30th. Kokomo looking to return to the top of that sectional. 16 sectional at Noblesville, and seriously, if you seeded this one, it probably goes exactly the same way. The favorites Carmel and Fishers drew the first round byes. Carmel will face either the host Millers or Zionsville, while Fishers will face Westfield or Hamilton Southeastern. In the semifinals on Friday, probably if you seeded it, you'd probably switch Hamilton Southeastern and Noblesville, but it's really close. And at Greenfield, the 16 sectional, the favorite Mount Vernon and host Greenfield-Central Cougars drew the first round byes. Mount Vernon will face Tuesday's first quarterfinal winner, either Muncie Central or Richmond, while Greenfield faces either Anderson and Pendleton Heights in a tough bottom half of that draw. Class 3A, the 17 sectional at Logansport, the host Berries, have the only first round bye and will face either Twin Lakes or Northwestern. In the top half, a semifinal. Wednesday's quarterfinals in the bottom half will be Western versus West Lafayette. That's a good one. And Mechanic-Wa versus Peru. Those winners will play each other in the second semifinal Friday. The 6-team sectional at Bellmont, defending champion Marion drew the first round bye and will face either Norwell or Heritage. On the other half, Mississinawa drew New Haven, and the winner will face Bellmont in the semifinals. Marion's probably the favorite again in that one. 6-team sectional in Newcastle, that's on the south half of the draw. Jay County against Yorktown and Newcastle versus Hamilton Heights on Tuesday. Then the Jay County Yorktown winner gets Connorsville. The Hamilton Heights Newcastle winner gets Delta. Looks pretty wide open to me. And in Class 2A at Manchester, the first game Tuesday will be Eastern versus Wabash. The winner faces Rochester in Friday semifinals. And in the bottom half, it's Oak Hill against Manchester, with the winner getting Lewis Cass in Friday semifinals. And it's Oak Hill sectional to lose. 16 sectional at Eastbrook. This draw kind of turns this sectional on its ear. Eastbrook and Wapahani drew the first round byes. Eastbrook will face either Alexandria or Blackford in a really tough top half of the draw. And the other half, it's Madison-Grant against Burris, with the winner facing Wapahani. Man, that's got to give teams like Wapahani, Madison-Grant, and Burris some hope. And at Elwood, where most of our attention will be on sectional week, Frankton and Lapel will go head-to-head on the first day of the sectional at Elwood, following Tipton and Taylor in the opener. And on Friday, Sheridan will face either Taylor or Tipton, while the host Panthers will face either Frankton or Lapel. Here is Michelle Garmon with her thoughts on the draw. All right, Michelle, Lapel and Frankton right off the bat.
I'm going to guess that if you were to ask them, that's probably not what they wanted. If you were to ask,
It'd be the exact
if you were to
opposite of
ask
what they
some of the
wanted.
other schools over there, like Sheridan and Taylor, they're probably perfectly fine with it.
Yes,
But my thing is, I hate it for crowd-wise, because those two, that rivalry would have made one heck of a championship game and atmosphere. It will still be a good atmosphere, but on a Saturday night with nothing else, nothing else, it would have just been electric. And so I hate it from that standpoint.
But it's going to make it great for a great Tuesday, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it will. It'll make for a great Tuesday. If I'm looking, I'd say the winner of the draw is Elwood.
Well, Sheridan, too. Sheridan had a nice draw as well.
Right, but I mean, to win it, they'll have to beat to get to, I'm saying for Elwood, they get to
play one or the other instead of both, right?
Yeah, I mean, they get, the funny thing is the draw, Greg, if you remember, it's very similar to last year, because Tipton drew
Lapel, right?
No. Tipton drew Taylor out of the gate. Sheridan had the bye. Tipton beat Taylor and then beat Sheridan because they came from behind in both of those games. They trailed by double figures. Right. It was a Grady Carpenter sectional. And then, Grady Carpenter hit that, and then Joey Wright missed that free throw in the championship. And it was Elwood and Frankton, same brackets, basically. Elwood and Frankton played in the opening round. And then Frankton really
Lapel,
played
yeah.
an outstanding second half to beat Lapel in the semifinals.
You're
So
right, except for the Elwood and Frankton swap. Or Lapel swap. It's the exact same.
it is.
Wild.
So that is wild. I'd really like to know what the odds are of that happening. Sometimes I
Pretty
think,
low.
think that can happen too often. In terms of, my guess is in terms of seeding, if you were to seed this sectional,
Be tough to seed.
yeah, but the seeding
top four are pretty even.
probably kind of went like it probably should in some ways. I mean, the 1, 2, and 3 seeds would have been tough. Lapel, Frankton, and Sheridan.
Yeah.
Because Frankton's beaten Taylor, Sheridan's beaten Taylor, so
yeah.
Taylor's not in the running for the 1 seed.
Yeah, they would be 4th.
Taylor would be the 4 seed.
Right. Well, you know what?
Tipton and that would be the 5 and 6 seeds. So.
You know what? Sectional did not have that was Eastbrook, where all the good teams are on one side of the bracket. Alexandria is playing really well. Blackford's playing really well. Eastbrook has won 4 or 5 games in a row, and then Wapahani gets Madison-Grant and Burris on their half. So great draw for Wapahani.
It is a good draw for Wapahani. And then too, I'm sure you saw that the winner of those 2 sectionals will play each other in the 1-game regional. You have to feel for Blackford and Alec in some ways. I mean, because play each other game 1 right out of the gate. That's a tough one.
Too bad.
Yeah.
And then let's talk a little bit about Tri-Central, Michelle. They're going to play Northfield a couple times here.
Yeah, they close out the regular season with a trip to Northfield on Friday, and then they're going to come around on the following Tuesday and play Northfield in the 2nd game of that sectional, which that sectional is an 8-team sectional. So I know I was talking to Coach Hyman after the game, his win over Clinton Prairie on Friday night, and we were talking. I said, whoever wins, every team's going to have to win 3 games in that sectional to win a sectional. And I said, I think, Cam, the big thing for you is he wanted to stay outside South. He wanted to be opposite Southwood's bracket, which he is. And but I said, I think you want to play Tuesday instead of Wednesday. That way you have 2 days.
And they are.
Yeah, 2 days before, 2 days between. So, but yeah, I mean, it will be interesting. I'll bet you Friday night's game at Northfield is going to be very basic, very generic. I know that if I was the head coach of either one of those teams, I'm not unveiling any new sets. I'm not unveiling any new out-of-bounds plays.
That's right.
And my defense is I'm just going to stay basic man-to-man. If I get into foul trouble, then I'm going to go basic 2-3. Because that game, whoever wins that, all that does is the loser of that game has motivation for the next game. But that game means nothing. It's the second meeting 5 days later that is worth everything.
Michelle, thank you so much. Michelle will be back tomorrow to talk some IU women's basketball. Big win on Sunday.
It was.
Now to girls basketball, and the CIC has a team in the state championship, the Oak Hill Golden Eagles. A couple of upset victories on Saturday at Frankfort in the Semistate, beating number 1 Whitko 66-58, then taking out number 7 Bremen 66-57 to advance to the state finals for the first time since winning a state championship in 2019. Grant Shouse was there and had a lot to say about it. Planned on putting his commentary right here in this podcast, but we talked for so long I decided to move it to the end because we have so much more to get to. Also, the great Lania Will's career came to an end. Number 6 Lapel lost to Bremen 60-43 in the first round at Frankfort. At Greencastle, into a Eastern Pekin is the surprise semi-state champion. The Eastern Pekin Musketeers beat Park Heritage 48-41 after Park Heritage beat Heritage Christian 46-37 in the semifinal round. So the 2A state championship will be 12th ranked Oak Hill 24-3 against unranked Eastern 20-7 at approximately 12:45 p.m. on Saturday. Of course, we'll have much more on this one throughout the week. That championship game will be played following the Class A state championship game between number 3 Fremont and number 2 Borden. By the way, Eastern Pekin and Borden about 5 minutes apart. An area I'm quite familiar. Anyway, number 3 Fremont against number 2 and defending state champion Borden at 10:30 on Saturday. Fremont is 28-2, Borden 24-4. The 3A state championship between number 1 Roncalli and number 5 Bellmont will be played at 6. Roncalli enters at 27-3, Bellmont at 24-3. And in 4A in the North at LaPorte, Norwell defeated McCutcheon 59-42 to win the semi-state championship. And in the South at Jasper, it was number 2 Center Grove 29-26 over number 5 Lawrence Central. So the final game of the year, the Class 4A state championship at approximately 8:15. It'll be the only unbeaten in the state, number 2 Center Grove against two-time reigning 3A state champion, number 6 Norwell, for the 4A title. Some boys basketball scores from Saturday. Huge win for the Madison-Grant Argylls, snapping Eastern's 7-game winning streak 53-52. It ends a 4-game skid for the Argylls. Alexandria beat Tri-Central 72-40 behind 17 points from junior Connor Kettery. 15 points for the Trojans, Jay Jankowiak. Great weekend for Alexandria. Cowan defeated Elwood 62-43. 23 points for Cowan senior Luke Garrett. Anderson topped Heritage Christian 47-43. Pendleton Heights beat Muncie Central 76-66. Cooper Sims went over 1,000 points for his career in the win. He finished with 23 points. Yorktown beat Wapahani 75-56. 3A number 12 Jay County 67-60 over Hamilton Heights. Kokomo defeated Fort Wayne North 77-56 behind 34 points from Corbin Hamill. He was 8 for 8 on 2-point attempts, 5 for 8 on 3-point attempts in the win. Lafayette Jeff beat Tipton 79-57 despite 25 points and 5 assists from Peyton Aller. Western defeated Lewis Cass 56-51. Carroll 47-45 over South Newton. Noblesville defeated New Haven 70-51. 4A number 8 Carmel defeated Providence 58-39. 2A number 5 Centerville 73-64 over Class 8 number 8 Liberty Christian, the Bulldogs' 20th win of the year. And 2A number 11 Shenandoah 67-32 over Burris. Aiden Coffey 19 points for the Raiders. Sorry I didn't get a chance to do recaps for the Blackford and Elwood games on Saturday night. We will recap those games later in the week when I speak with Blackford head coach Aaron Daniels, Elwood head coach Ryan Van Skyak, and on Thursday, the Frankton Eagles report with Coach Brent Brobston. To boys wrestling, Center Grove won its first ever state championship. I couldn't believe it when I heard that it was their first one ever. The team state championship used to be held there. Kind of thought they had won some, but they had not. They were, however, the state runners-up the last 3 years, but on Saturday defeated defending state champion Brownsburg by 3.5 points. Crown Point was third, Delta finished 5th, New Pal 11th, Westfield 14th, Roncalli 16th, Lawrence North 17th, and Cowan 19th. Your 2026 state champions at 106 pounds, a couple of local kids went head-to-head for the state title. Westfield sophomore Caleb Maddox completed an unbeaten season by beating Delta's Carson Kalakamo 17-2 by technical fall in 3 minutes and 17 seconds. All 4 of Maddox's wins came by technical fall on Saturday. For Brownsburg, Travion Ducking won at 113, Case Bell at 120, and Braylon Reynolds at 144. Chesterton's Maximus Quiros won at 126 pounds. The 132-pound champion is Avon's Nate Rio, who defeated Delta's Jensen Boyd 4-0 in the championship. Crown Point had a pair of champions in Clinton Shepard at 150 and Caesar Salas at 215. Lowell Jr. Evan Stanley is the 138-pound champion. Columbus East Caleb Cooper at 157. New Prairie's unbeaten sophomore Matthew Staples is the 165-pound champion. Center Grove unbeaten junior Sean Breedlove won at 175. Lawrence North senior Michael White completed an unbeaten season by beating Boonville's Sam Howard 18-15 in the championship at 190 pounds. We had quite a few all-state wrestlers in our local area. Of course, Maddox, Kalakamo, and Boyd, as we mentioned. Also for Delta, Kate Jackson finished 4th at 113. Samuel Mosier was 4th at 144. Reed Wicker finished 5th at 120. Rossville seniors Jacob Weaver and Jacob Cole both finished 7th at 157 and 175 pounds respectively. New Pal senior Gunnar Butt finished 3rd at 150. And Cowan's Austin Goney finished 8th. Fisher senior Julian Burgett finished 3rd at 215 pounds. And Marion's Hickson Love finished 8th at 132. He sustained an injury while winning on Friday night and wasn't able to compete on Saturday. 2 local boys swimming sectionals. The host Tigers won its 6th straight sectional championship at Fishers. Hamilton Southeastern was 2nd, and Oak Hill an impressive 3rd with 4 sectional championships. The Golden Eagles won the 200 medley relay with Cale McCann, Cooper McQuiston, Braylon Carey, and Evan Bledsoe. Then Mann won the 100 butterfly, McQuiston the 100 free, and Bledsoe the 100 breaststroke. Carmel dominated the sectional at Carmel, as expected. The program's 39th sectional championship and 19th in a row. The Greyhounds won every event. Bluffton won the Jay County sectional. Muncie Central sophomore Gavin Cook won the 50 in 22:06 and the 100 free in 48:74. And Delta junior Samuel Stokes won the 100 butterfly in 53.79. Greenfield-Central won the New Pal sectional, beating the host Dragons by 160 points. Isaac Johnson and Aiden Michael each won 4 sectional championships for the Cougars. Zionsville won the sectional championship at West Lafayette. Brownsburg won at Brownsburg. Crawfordsville at Crawfordsville. Plainfield won at Avon. Franklin Central is the sectional champion at Lawrence Central. And Center Grove won at Center Grove. The state finals will begin on Friday with the prelims. On Monday's podcast, we'll have the top seeds and local seeds for you. Team and individual state champions will be crowned on Saturday. Moving on to some college basketball over the weekend. On Sunday, on the women's side, IU won for the 4th time in its last 6 games after starting the Big Ten 0-10. They beat Oregon 72-65. Shashesky, 20 points and 6 assists. She went over 1,000 points for her career in the win. The Hoosiers are now 15-13 overall. We'll have more on this one on Monday's show with Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader, who was at the game, and we'll have a report. Purdue fell to 12-15 on the year with a 99-66 loss at Maryland. Purdue's now 4-12 in the Big Ten. And on Saturday, Miami completed a sweep of Ball State with a 68-64 victory in Oxford. Miami now has a half-game lead on Ball State atop the MAC. Ball State should get a third shot at the Red Hawks in Cleveland in March in the MAC tournament. That's the important one anyway, right? In the Crossroads, Indiana Wesleyan beat Bethel 63-56. Mount Vernon Nazarene 85-82 over Taylor. Grace beat Goshen 86-82. It'll be Indiana Wesleyan at Huntington, Taylor at St. Francis, Grace at Marion, and Bethel at Spring Arbor. The conference tournament begins Tuesday. Hope to have a preview for you on Tuesday's show with Kevin Helfrich. In the Division III Heartland Conference, Victoria Detrez had 19 points and 14 rebounds, 10 of those rebounds on the offensive end, as the third-seeded Anderson Ravens beat Rose Holman 75-68. It'll be 17-9 Anderson against 20-6 Franklin. And Friday's conference semifinals in Lexington, Kentucky. Mount St. Joseph and top seed and host Transylvania will meet in the other semifinal. The championship is Saturday at 3. And in men's basketball, most of it was on Saturday. And the big one, number 1 Michigan lost 68-63 at number 3 Duke. Unquestionably 2 title contenders. And Illinois lost 95-94 at UCLA after having a 23-point lead in that game, essentially sealing the Big Ten championship for Michigan. The Wolverines now have a 3-game lead on number 7 Purdue, number 9 Nebraska, number 10 Illinois, and number 15 Michigan State, which beat Ohio State 66-60 on Sunday. Butler won its second straight Big East game, 80-75 over Xavier at Hinkle, 24 points and 9 rebounds for Michael Ajay. Akron stayed within striking distance of unbeaten Miami with a 78-65 win over Ball State in Muncie on Saturday. The Cardinals now 8-19. Miami improved to 27-0 on the season with a 91-77 win over Bowling Green on Friday in Oxford. On Sunday afternoon, Purdue-Fort Wayne beat Cleveland State 92-86 in Cleveland. Corey had not had 28 points for the 16-13 Mastodons. And it was a big Saturday in the Big 12. I don't want to say the best conference in the country because the Big 10's awfully good, but the Big 12 is really good. Number 4, Arizona won 73-66 at number 2, Houston for the Big 12 lead. A.J. DeBonsa and the number 23 ranked BYU Cougars beat number 6 Iowa State 79-69, and Cincinnati upset number 8 Kansas 84-68. Arizona now leads Houston by a game, and Kansas Iowa State and number 13 Texas Tech by 2 games. And on the final day in the Crossroads Conference, Indiana Wesleyan beat Bethel 79-69. Mount Vernon Nazarene beat Taylor 72-59, and Huntington beat Marion 82-67. And Grace beat Goshen 86-84 to clinch the conference championship and the top seed in the tournament that begins Wednesday at home sites. And again, we'll have more on this tournament later in the week with Kevin Helfrich. In the Heartland Conference, number 2 seed Anderson advanced to the conference semifinals with a 103-89 win over Bluffton. 6 Ravens scored in double figures, led by 22 from Tipton's Nolan Swan. Elijah Mattingly from Beech Grove had 16 points, 16 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. The Ravens will face Rose Hallman in Friday's semifinals. Franklin and Transylvania will play in the other semifinal with the championship game Saturday at 5 in Lexington. And one sad note before we get to Grant, Rondale Moore passed away over the weekend in his hometown of New Albany. Of course, he's a former New Albany Bulldog, Purdue Boilermaker, Arizona Cardinal, and Minnesota Viking. One of the all-time favorites that I ever covered, including the 2016 state championship game for New Albany. I have his Cardinals jersey in my closet. Producer Susie has one too. Just very sad. Very sad. And here's Grant with his recap of Oak Hill's girls basketball semi-state championship. Grant, I got to be honest with you. I knew Oak Hill had a really good team. Thought they probably could win a sectional, maybe a regional. I certainly didn't think they were a state championship contender.
After seeing what I saw from Oak Hill on Saturday, there's no doubt in my mind I think they can win that state championship. If you would have told me at the start of the tournament that they would have a shot and would even be in the state championship game, I would have told you you're crazy.
It's a good team, but man, they must have been really good yesterday.
They were. I mean, they were just well coached yesterday. They made the right plays and they needed to make them. They hit big threes. In the first game, Whitko really tried to put on a press, and Oak Hill did a great job at being able to break that press and get across the timeline. Turnovers were a little bit of a problem in that game for them, but just the fact that their size, their length really disrupted Whitko is kind of the difference in that game. Whitko got into some foul trouble. They had 3 starters that ended up fouling out by the end of the game. They had one starter, their first starter that fouled out with 4 or 5 minutes to go in the game. And then it just kind of followed. Whitko had a girl named Jameis Stonebreaker that just went off in the third quarter. I think scored 13 points in the third quarter, and just that's the only thing that kept him in the game. I really thought Oak Hill at one point could run away and win that. And you know, for them to win 2 games in one day like that, the first game I was shocked just because I had seen Whitko and known about Whitko and how long and athletic and the length that they have. I just thought, man, there's always a shot, but it's going to be tough just because of what Oak Hill what Oak Hill's made of. Their guards are short. They're not as strong with the basketball as some other teams, but their bigs are really good. So for them to win that first game, I was pretty shocked. But for them to come back and win the night game, I went from shocked to stunned. I don't know where the drop off or where the difference between shocked and stunned is. But I definitely crossed it. I'm just honestly proud. I'm a proud alumni of the school. Like when I was a kid, back 7 to 9 years ago, when this was a reoccurring thing between the boys and the girls teams. Going to the state finals every year for 3 years. It takes me back to my childhood a little bit, so it's been pretty fun.
Speaking of which, it's a chance for Oak Hill to avenge a 2017 state championship game loss against Eastern. First time Eastern's been back since. And Grant, the head coach of Eastern's girls, was the star of that team. So you guys, your whole program gets a chance to avenge that one.
It's a full circle moment. I was telling some of the kids that were there last night, I asked them, like, and how old were you in 2017? And they're like, I was like 7 years old.
That's right.
I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like I was like 7 years old. I was 9 years old is what they were telling me. I'm like, man, they don't really remember it. They don't have as much recollection. I remember that girl, Taylor Drury, for right. Eastern Pekin in that game. And by the way, I know you're a Southern Indiana guy. I know Eastern Pekin is in your neck of the woods, but up here, we have to refer to it as Eastern Pekin to not get confused with Eastern Greentown.
That is correct. You have to make that distinction.
So that's always one of those things. Every time I've heard Eastern Pekin over the years, I've kind of chuckled a little bit. Like, oh yeah, we played them in state.
When I was at the newspaper in Jeffersonville, we just referred to them as Eastern, and if we referred to the one in Greentown, then we said Eastern Greentown.
Exactly. See, I never called it Eastern Greentown. I've never even thought to call it Eastern Greentown.
That's right.
But down there, I always call it Eastern Pekin.
Same as Mount Vernon, by the way.
Yeah, I'd never called Mount Vernon Fortville. And depending on the context. The Mount Vernon Posey, I would,
correct.
Just not to get confused.
So the championship game now, Oak Hill is ranked 12th, and they're the only ranked team in this. You don't see it much in high school basketball.
No, you don't. I think these are, I don't want to say Cinderellas that got here. Let's
just say no one would have picked these two teams, that's for sure.
Right. These aren't two teams that were scrapping and clawing just to win games this year. I mean, these are still two good teams.
Very good teams.
Eastern Pekin, looking at their schedule today, they've lost every game they should have lost this year. They lost to a lot of teams similar to them. They didn't lose to one team with a sub 500 record. Everybody that beat them had a good record. Silver Creek beat them. Borden beat them, who's in the 1A state championship. They beat them the very last regular. Yeah, they lost to Charlestown. They lost to Columbus North. They lost. There's another one. They lost to Brownstown, who's always good. They've lost 7 games this year, and Oak Hill's 22-3. Excuse me, 24-3, correct?
Yes.
Kill's 24-3. Eastern Pekin has a significantly better strength of schedule than Oak Hill does. I think Eastern Pekin plays the 116th toughest schedule in the state, according to the Sagarin. Oak Hill is somewhere in the 240 range there. Eastern Pekin has a better Sagarin rating. Eastern Pekin is ranked 79th overall in the state amongst every team, 12th in their class in the Sagarin. Oak Hill is 17th or 19th in the Sagarin, somewhere in there. And they are 91st overall in the entire state. So Eastern Pekin actually, that's why they're favored going into the game. But here's the thing about that, Greg, is the metric really points towards Eastern Pekin to be the favorite. But Oak Hill proved on Saturday that metric doesn't matter.
That's right.
Because they beat two teams with significantly better Sagarin ratings than them, significantly better rankings than them, and almost significantly better stats than them on paper on Saturday. Whitko was number 1 in the state, had not lost since the middle of November. And I think just kind of thought they could come in there and walk through it. And cut down the nets on Saturday night, but Oak Hill had other plans. Same for Bremen. I thought Oak Hill played two really nice games yesterday. I mean, they just fought hard. I mean, it's the only way you can put it.
Grant, here's the thing about Oak Hill. 4 players in double figures yesterday. 6 players, they only played 6. And all 6 of them scored at least 6 points. That's tough to defend.
Yeah, it is tough to defend. And neither team went really deep yesterday. Neither Whitko or Bremen went really deep. Bremen only had 6 players that played. Whitko, I think, had 7 that played. Oak Hill technically had 7 that played. Riley Myers got into the game briefly. And then the 2 seniors for Oak Hill on the roster that did not see the floor until the final 7 seconds of the game on Saturday night. And everybody that played contributed for Oak Hill. It's not like, you see teams like that'll have 4 starters all clicking and then there's one starter that's trailing behind, not really making that much of an impact. Everybody made an impact on Saturday for Oak Hill. Their 2 bigs, Daly and Kate, made a big impact. Landry Hardman, the superintendent's daughter, is and was the best guard on the floor most of the time. Just the way she handles the ball, can get her head down and get to the rack. She's just a heck of a player. Erica Newhouse hit some big shots for them as well. And then Cora Pond knocked down some big threes. And then you factor in Lily Edwards hit 3 threes in the championship game against Bremen off the bench. She was big. This is a full circle moment. And I sound like an idiot because I don't know who this guy is. But when I was in high school, our athletic director, Ryan Fagan, asked me a couple times to run the clock for some junior high games when these girls were in junior high. And they were a good junior high team. And the guy doing the book and I, who was a dad of one of the players, were talking. And he said to me, he goes, we're really good. In 4th grade, they did this. In 5th grade, they did this. 6th grade, they did this. 7th grade, they did this. This is 7th and 8th grades. So they were right in the middle of junior high. And he goes, I predict we will make at least 2 or 3 state championship appearances with this group, is what this guy told me. And that always stuck with me. And as I've watched him here, and the first thing I thought last night was, man, that guy was right. That guy was right. And I never thought I'd see this program back in the state championship. I really thought it hit its peak with Courtney Moses back almost 20 years ago now. It's just crazy to think about. Or about 7 years ago when they won the state championship in 2019, 9 years ago when they lost to Eastern Pekin in the state championship. I just never thought I'd see this program get back to the relevancy that it was once at. So I'm happy for Coach Barkham and her staff. They've done a phenomenal job. And they've got a really good shot to win it on Saturday, and I hope they can bring it back to the suburbs of Converse on Saturday night.
Hope so too. Hey, Grant, while we have you, Norwell, impressive.
I'm glad you asked. I have not. I don't want to say unfortunately, but I have not had the fortune of following them as closely this tournament run as I have the last 2, just because we are not doing their games right. We're just not doing their games anymore.
Right. They went to a different area for their sectional because they moved up a class.
Yeah.
Or else they would have been there with Marion and Mississinawa.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing for now, the 3A participant in Bellmont. Bellmont was always paired in with Norwell for all those years and always got beat up. And now Norwell moved to 4A and Bellmont is taking their place, and they're in the 3A championship.
Kind of the exact reason for this rule, right?
Pretty much. And Norwell and Bellmont are going to have a legitimate shot to win their state championships, and they're only 15 minutes apart. They're in the same conference. So that's the thing with Norwell is Eric Thornton is, he's got to be one of the greatest coaches to ever coach girls basketball in Indiana, especially the last 3 years, what they've done. This is probably the second best success factor team in class basketball. The first one being Northwestern in what was from 2018 to 2020. Northwestern won back-to-back state championships in 2018 and 2019. They lost in the 4A game in 2020 when they had to move up. Norwell lost in the 3A game 2 years ago. They won the 3A championship last year. They moved to 4A due to the success factor, and now only time will tell. I think they have a legitimate shot to beat Center Grove. I've seen Center Grove a couple times this year. I've seen their scores. I've seen how they've won games. I think Norwell's a significantly more talented team. I think they're a better coached team. And I'm really confident Norwell can win that 4A state championship. And I hope they get it done. They've got Vanessa Rossworm, who just became the program's all-time leading scorer, who's going to play at Indiana Wesleyan. I remember when she was a freshman and hit the game winner to beat Northwestern in the sectional championship. And now she's playing in her third straight state championship game. So this is pretty fun to watch for Oak Hill and Norwell, two teams I follow closely the last few years, and I'm really looking forward to Saturday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Thanks so much to Grant and Michelle for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow. Michelle will join me again. Also, my friend Will Rutherford will be here to talk some USA hockey. We'll also have some boys swimming. We'll look ahead to the final week in boys basketball and preview the girls basketball state finals just a little bit more. We'll do that throughout the week. My friends and I are here every day. Please join us. Also, please do me a huge favor. Share this podcast. I know you are thinking of someone who would like this podcast. Just hit the share button. Text it right to them. Hey, check this out. This is pretty cool. We're on SoundCloud, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. Some other one where Susie gets her books. Audible, maybe? We're on that. We're on YouTube as well. We've got some other cool stuff coming up, like a new podcast with Will Rutherford. It's going to be fun. Got big plans. Fancy plans and pants to match. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.